Hello everyone, good evening and welcome to today's webinar AI for IT Leaders How Intelligent Automation is Redefining ITSM and Governance. Now, I'm Shraddha, your host for this session, and I'm really happy to see so many of few of IT professionals joining us tonight. There are many more people to join. For those joining Knowlathon for the first time, Knowlathon is a global training provider helping professionals upskill through internationally recognized certifications such as ITIL, PMP, Prince2, Agile certifications, ISO, be it cybersecurity, and many more. Our focus is simple: helping professionals stay relevant as technology, roles, and expectations continue to evolve. So, our speaker today is a senior ITSM and information security professionals with over 20 years of global experience, working at the intersection of service management, governance, security, and emerging technologies. A consultant, trainer, and mentor, she has earned a reputation for designing and delivering practical programs that help professionals stay relevant as roles and expectations evolve. So please join me in welcoming Swapna Thala. Swapna ma'am, over to you.
Thank you, Shraddha. Thank you so much for the intro, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you all, depending on wherever you're joining us from. So today's session is about a shift that's already underway. We will be looking at AI, which, as we are all aware now, isn't a future concept in ITSM anymore. It's already changing how service desk operates, how value is measured, and what is expected from people in these roles. Now, before I get into a quick introduction of me, I just get through a quick bit of housekeeping before we get started. The session is being recorded and it'll be available after the webinar. And please post your questions in the Q&A. Is that right, Shraddha?
Yes, ma'am. We can have questions in Q&A.
Right. So anything relevant to the organization, Shraddha will be responding to them immediately. But we also have a dedicated Q&A session towards the end of the session. So if you have anything related to today's subject, feel free to ask me the questions then. So very quickly, though Shraddha has introduced me, I think it's good to know that, I'm of course Swapna, and I work with organizations and professionals across regions on IT service management, governance, and information security, especially around frameworks and ensuring that they bridge the ground reality, of operations and the expectations of, at the governance levels, basically. So over the years, I've worked extensively in frameworks such as ITIL, COVID, ISO 27001, Prince2, and certifications like CISM, CISA, CISSP, not just in theory, but as systems that have to survive the real world pressure, right? What I've found really interesting in the recent years is watching how these frameworks and domains, and of course the roles around these, are influenced, disrupted, and augmented by AI, right? So I'm joining you from Bangalore, India, and I'm delighted to host today's session on how AI is transforming the ITSM service desk and what this would mean for you and your role, right? So let's get started. So before we go any further, I want to understand where you're coming from. So you can see a QR code on your screen. Please scan it and answer 2 quick questions. Really simple ones. You already see them on board, but do scan it and get through to the questions, right? Shraddha, you can attempt it as well, so I get to know if it's functioning as expected.
Yes, ma'am. Can you go a slide back because I'm not able to see the scanner.
Okay, you want me to go to the scanner, right? Okay, let me give you guys a second as well, along with Shraddha. Shraddha, do let me know if you're having trouble.
No, it's accessible. I can access.
Perfect. So I'm actually testing this through you, Shraddha. So if you respond, I'll get to know if the poll is actually reflecting your responses.
Yes, I have already acted on it.
Oh, you have?
Maybe we
Oh,
need
I'm
to
not able
refresh
to
or
see.
something.
I'll probably have to do that with me. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes. So the first question is very simple. How much do you think AI will change your role in ITSM, specifically at service desk? Shraddha, do let me know when we can proceed to the next question.
Ma'am, can you share the screen again? There are some people joining new, so maybe they can also scan and answer us.
Okay, perfect. Mm, there you go.
Yes. Who all join now? You can scan this QR and answer to this sample question, so that we will see where we stand right now.
I'll just try to take a quick peek at how the responses are.
Sure. If
But
you are
I think
able to access the QR code, give me a thumbs up.
alternately, those of you who are not able to access the code, you can give the thumbs down.
Yeah.
I can see two faces there. I think that's a remark. And the two of them, they look sad.
Yeah.
Does that mean they're not able to access it, or how is that?
Maybe a little change they are expecting or something like that. It is based on the answers, I guess.
All right. So taking this further, I guess we can't hold the progress because of course, we just have about less than 60 minutes now. So
Yeah.
I see that the majority of responses of the four, three of them say that IT has changed their role a lot. Now, this tells us something really important. This highlights that AI adoption in ITSM isn't merely a small or a cosmetic shift anymore. It is a real change, and it is how ITSM and the service desk, uh, you know, it will change how ITSM and the service desk will get the work done, right? So the question is no longer if AI will change roles, but more importantly, how. Could you? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for those of
Sorry for the
you who are
disruption.
participating, yeah, please do keep yourself on mute. So what
Yes.
I was saying is AI is here to stay, and the question is no longer if AI is going to impact our roles or not, but how, right? So more importantly, are we as service desk professionals prepared for this transition? Now, that brings us to the next question in the poll. I'll quickly shift to it and will appreciate a lot more response than what we've just seen. So, how prepared do you feel today for the AI-driven changes in the ITSM roles? feel free to just click away. There's no right or wrong answer. Just have fun with it.
Yes, you can get access to the next question on the same QR. Like it will load after the first question.
That's right. Shraddha, you can start answering. I mean, just to test if it's working for everyone.
Yeah, it's working.
I know it should. So I can see that the participants seem to be a little too shy to respond. So
Maybe.
I'll yeah. So I'll just take this forward for because we hard pressed on time. So just taking this
Yeah.
forward, if most of you would think that option 2 and 3, where it's mostly about not being sure or being unprepared. Now, this is the most common pattern that I get to see, where I reach out to people across, industries and the globe. People are aware that AI is coming, but they're not fully clear on how to prepare for it. Now, uh, that gap between awareness and clarity is exactly why sessions like this exist. For those of you who have chosen option 1, or at least are thinking of choosing option 1, so if you're not prepared, now that doesn't mean that you're behind. It usually means that the AI strategy hasn't yet been translated into actionable, task for you. So now that's an organizational gap and not a personal one. And for those of you who are confident and you feel ready, now that's wonderful. That's great. Today can be an opportunity to validate your direction and to spot any blind spots quite early, right? So with that, we will close the poll and get back to the presentation. So let's start off with trying to understand why it is important to understand the transformation of IT service management driven by AI. Why is this topic so important and so hot today, right? So what we get to see is that leaders across organizations and industries are reassessing their ROI. And while this is happening at the same time, the users, and that includes you as an IT user or from the internal IT team, and your customers as well are raising the bar of the user experience, right? And all of this is directly having an impact on the support models. So work no longer starts, escalates, and ends at the service desk as it used to traditionally. Instead, there's this line between what should be automated and what should remain human, which is becoming less and less clear and blurry, right? So as AI enters ITSM more deeply, we are also experiencing that it's surfacing some uncomfortable, um, however, very necessary questions around if AI is replacing roles, or if it is augmenting them, or sometimes if it is simply quietly adding to the complexity that we haven't been able to account for or be prepared to meet, right? So simply put, AI is not replacing entire roles. It is replacing specific repetitive tasks. And we will see what part of it is myth and what holds water and what is reality, right? So uh, as of now, I think what we can understand is that AI is pushing ITSM away from purely reactive operations and decision making towards proactive and predictive operations, right? And whether we are ready or not, as ITSM professionals, we are definitely right at the center of this shift. So over next 60 minutes, we will be looking into how AI and humans will realistically work together in ITSM and what is actually changing in roles and responsibilities, and now which skills matter going forward, regardless of what tools and what technology your organization uses, right? So the goal of today's webinar is clarity, and once we gain that clarity, I think preparing for this change becomes less uncomfortable, hopefully, and much easier, right? So the agenda for today's, what we will be covering today, we'll start with why AI matters to service desk right now. And we'll look at where AI is already changing day-to-day work and why this change feels confusing for many IT teams, right? From there, we'll talk about how service desk roles are shifting and what that means for the work that we do. We'll finish with arriving at a skills inventory, an inventory of skills that mattered to us next, and a few practical takeaways that we can actually apply. So now that we've talked about why this topic matters, I think it's important for us to ground this conversation in data, not just subjective opinions, right? So the slide that you see on the screen is based on the State of AI in IT 2025 report, based on the research that was conducted by PeopleCert, Atomic Work, and ITSM tools. Now, this slide, if you closely look at it, it raises one simple question, which is where AI is actually changing ITSM today. Now, what stands out immediately is AI is not evenly distributed across ITSM, as you'll see on the screen. It's been plotted across those various functional roles. You have a list of primary roles here, and more importantly, what kind of functions, and at what levels, whether it is operational, tactical, or at the governance level. What stands out immediately here is that AI impact is not evenly distributed across all these functions. If we are looking at the left side of the screen, which captures where the areas of the biggest impact, according to the report, data analysis, end user assistance, knowledge management, and incident management feel the heaviest impact of AI, right? Now, important thing to note here is that these activities are not governance heavy, and they are more operational slash tactical activities, right? So towards the right, we'll be looking at a functional breakdown. And if we look at the service process owners level, we will see asset management and change enablement, right? Here we notice that impact is present, but it is noticeably lower in comparison to the other bucket items that we see below the list, right? Now, that's basically an important signal for us, right? It tells us that AI is not transforming governance first, but if you look at the lower part of this bar chart here, you will see that it's more transforming operations first. Now, there is an important reason why the trend is such. Governance today is mostly reactive, right? And this is a direct result of how heavy the regulations around AI and data security are becoming. And not just that, there's also a deficit in trust in AI, right? And we will look at this lack of confidence in the autonomous AI, especially in the decision making and all of that in the following slides. So very quickly moving down to how the impact is felt at the service and process managers level. Here we see problem management and predictive maintenance. Now, this area does show impact mainly because IT is changing how problems are detected, analyzed, and prioritized, and there's a heavy use of predictive AI in this domain, right? Finally, and of course, more significantly, the service desk score. Here we see the strongest signals, right? If you can see there, the end user assistance is at 48%, and the incident management is at 39%. Now, this tells us something really important. AI is changing how work is done at service desk first, right? Um, how the tickets are handled, how users are supported, how the incidents are triaged, categorized, forwarded, assigned, all of that, right? So this is where the tasks are being automated, assisted, and accelerated, right? So once again, if you look at all the roles at the governance, tactical, and operational level, we will note that the greatest impact of AI and successful implementation of AI has been seen in terms of the use cases, etc., at the operational level. Now, right below the operational level, what we notice is another layer, which I would term as the universal layer. And that's because this cuts across all the other domains. So data analysis and knowledge management sit right here because they cut across everything else. They're used at the service and process owners level, and it's also used at the service and process managers level as well, right? Uh, this means that the weaknesses are easily and immediately exposed and also amplified, right? And this has had a direct bearing on the recent fall of AI into what Gartner's AI curve refers to as the trough of disillusionment, which we will see shortly in the next slide, right? So what it means from a knowledge and data perspective is that now these are no longer background processes and they've come to the forefront of AI, especially at the service desk. So taking this opportunity to address the elephant that has taken center stage in the recent AI discussions. Yes, AI is replacing the repetitive tasks, but it is not yet replacing roles. And it's just transitioning these roles by augmenting and supporting specific decision-making tasks, right? So yeah, I think that's pretty much about the conversation around here. So now that we understand where AI is hitting first, I think the next logical questions around would be if we understand, the ROI on AI and where it's been, the use cases that have been successfully implemented at the operational level, then why does it feel so chaotic? And why does the adoption feel so uneven, right? And also why and what does it actually mean for your role at the service desk, right? So before we address these questions, I think there are a couple of trends that are worthy of taking note. And we start off at the top, right? So what you see here on the slide, and this is based on a survey that was conducted by PeopleCert and its partners. So when in the survey, the organizations were asked where they do not want AI to operate, this strongest of responses were around the handling of sensitive data, the ethical and legal decision making, people management, and high level strategic planning. Now, what does this signify? Simply that these are not because of technical limitations, rather, these are from the AI trust boundaries, which again, like I said, we'll shortly look into in the next slide. So, what this tells us is that organizations are comfortable letting AI to assist with works such as speeding up of tickets, summarizing issues, generating content, suggesting responses and answers, and so on. However, there is still a lingering and maybe even a deepening discomfort letting AI handle judgment-heavy decisions, especially autonomously, right? These could be around accountability, people management, risk trade-offs, or ethics for that matter, right? So what is worth taking note for those of you who are afraid that AI will be replaced or you will be replaced by AI is that human roles are not yet ready to disappear, right? They merely shift. They shift from doing repetitive work to reviewing, to auditing, to deciding, escalating even, and then taking responsibility, taking charge. Of course, like I said, accountability. So AI will increasingly handle repetitive tasks, and humans will retain the judgment and the decision making, right? So what does this mean for in terms of service desk? Simply that you will be spending less time typing, searching, doing simple data entry, repetitive tasks, routing, categorizing, etc. And you'll be spending more time interpreting data, interpreting situations and scenarios, validating, the responses from AI, deciding on how to prioritize and triage them, and of course, communicating across. Now, that shift is exactly what creates the need, uh, not for new roles, but for newer skills, in supporting these roles, right? So let's um, let's just pause and connect everything that we've discussed so far, right? So the curve that you see on screen, it explains why AI in ITSM feels uh, exciting, confusing, and even uncomfortable, and all at the same time, right? So, um, okay, quickly telling you a bit of a background about where this curve comes from. Definitely not from my brain. Uh, this curve is directly adapted from Gartner's AI hype cycle, right? And it uses the same phases and the logic, but they are adapted and applied specifically to the ITSM and service desk adaptation, right? So what is Gartner's curve? Gartner's curve helps explaining not just how technologies mature over a period of time, but how the expectations around these technologies, the trust and the adoption, and even the behaviors, right, evolve over time. And what we have done here is we've mapped that exact pattern to what service desk teams are experiencing, and how IT is, you know, uh, how the expectations around IT are evolving. So what you will notice to the left bottom is, where we will see the foundations of AI, right? The innovation trigger, as the Gartner cycle or the Gartner curve says. So here you see automation, routing, and this is where the early chatbots were introduced, and they were ML based, categorization, etc. And so This is around the 2022 where AI existed, but it mostly stayed invisible, right? Then around 2023, um, the generative AI becomes visible in ITSM, which means that the service desk starts interacting with IT directly. Now, that is what, again, the Gartner curve refers to as the innovation trigger. Now, this now the expectations around AI rise to the peak, what is called as the peak of inflated expectations, simply because these expectations explode after 2024, right? So we've been hearing in 2024 narratives such as AI will replace level one, right? So the demos looked pretty impressive. The pressures on investments in AI and, of course, the ROI started increasing. Uh, Reality did not catch up yet. And then come 2025, we started hearing about the AI bubble, right? Maybe a bit too early to dismiss it as a bubble, or maybe not at all. But let's look at what are the reasons behind this, decline in trust, right? So we've increasingly noticed AI showing hallucinations in its responses. They were inconsistent answers, mostly mostly due to poor data quality, right? We've seen model drift, and we've also seen a lot of AI fatigue around this time here, right? And this did not primarily happen because AI stopped working, but let's say that it's the main reason behind this is because we assumed that AI was reliable and mature before we actually made it robust and trustworthy, right? So in 2026, now starting here, it's more of projections into the future. Um, 2026 is likely where we will be hitting the trough of disillusionment. This is where um, AI will be everywhere, but the confidence levels sink to the bottom, right? So where we experience the discomfort, not just for leadership, but for from a service desk perspective as well. Uh, the main reason, if you have observed, this phenomena around you in your roles, is not so much because, the tasks have drastically changed, but the roles, have not been clearly defined, right? And the interactions between the humans and AI has not been clearly governed, planned for, right? And even, we've not given it the time for maturing, correct? So based on the Gartner hype cycle from 2027 onwards, things are expected to improve. Organizations will hopefully stop asking, what can AI do? And they will start asking, uh, where should AI, or identifying areas where they can benefit from AI, creating use cases, answering questions like or asking questions like where should AI assist, and more importantly, where must humans interact with AI, and what are the decision points around it. So more governance guardrails will begin to apply, and as you see, human in the loop becomes more deliberate, and responsibilities start becoming clear. Uh, Moving on from there, from by 2028 and 2029, AI is expected to stabilize and become more predictable in terms of governance. Then your processes, operations, and even governance, they become more audit ready, hopefully. And AI will be embedded into service desk operations with much greater success. and greater return on investment. So uh, the takeaway for us here is that the journey is not so much about AI replacing people, but it's about which tasks will be automated effectively, decisions, you know, how will this decision making and sharing happen, right? And accountability will be shifting back to the humans, right? So this leads to the most important question for most of you. Um, if the tasks are changing, if judgment is becoming more important, decision making is becoming more important, and if AI is now a part of daily service desk work, then what does this mean for your role? And what are the skills that you will need to be able to meet this transition head on, right? So let's have a quick look at that. So what this means for your role now, let's just take a step back, and whatever we've covered so far, it brings us to this single moment where we address you, your concerns, and your role, right? So the key shift to understand in this is that AI is not changing what service desk exists to do. Uh, it's changing how that work gets done and where the accountability sits and where the responsibility is shared, right? So the first skill that you will see there would be around execution that is assisted by AI. So AI will increasingly handle parts of the work, such as your drafts, the summaries. It will give you suggestions. It will be routing your tickets and so on. But still, someone, that is you, uh, will have to review, validate, and decide. So the role itself doesn't disappear, merely it becomes more AI assisted. And you will have to now be working effectively with AI tools such as, the AI co-pilots. You will have to upskill to work with the virtual agents, improve your prompt engineering skills as well. You will have to understand, you will have to make the transition from being purely operational to more towards the technical and the governance end of the spectrum, where you'll be reviewing, correcting, and validating the outputs of AI, right? So I think a critical skill for you to have is to understand when to trust AI and when not to, right? Which means do not always just accept the output of the AI replicated engine, shoot your reports, but use your discretion. And that's where your importance as a human and your skill set comes into picture, which of course takes us to the next skill set, which is about your knowledge and the data stewardship, right? So AI is only as good as the information that it learns from, right? So garbage in, garbage out, right? So that makes you as a service desk team the critical custodians of uh, the data and knowledge quality. So poor knowledge doesn't just slow down work anymore. It in fact actively breaks AI and the business that AI is helping build. And so what is important for you would be to understand how to create and how to maintain high quality data. Uh, and for that, you are required to understand basically what you mean when you say high quality data. What is its context? What are the various biases? And how does AI react to it, the aspects of hallucination, etc., right? And how to create prevent rather, right, the failures due to the whole garbage in and garbage out, right? So this is where again your judgment, right, the human judgment and escalation comes in third. When AI gets things wrong, and as we see that it will, right? Humans get to decide. Human gets to take over. Is this acceptable? Is this risky? Does this need escalation? Right. So your judgment and the context and in a context definition and understanding and accountability, right? These will remain with the humans. So what is required from you would be making context-aware decisions that AI cannot, handling exceptions, handling edge cases, and ambiguous situations, right? So owning responsibility wherever AI is involved. So that will be your primary role going forward. Now, coming to trust, risk, and communication, right? So as your customers don't directly interact with AI, at least not always. They interact with you through AI, especially if you are controlling the knowledge base and the data, right? So explaining decisions, managing expectations, and working within the governance boundaries. Now, that becomes part of your day-to-day responsibility at service desk. So explaining the AI-assisted decisions to the users, managing the trust, the expectations, and the user experience, or customer experience, right? And working with governance and audit boundaries, that becomes crucial, right? So what is the key takeaway for us here? That um, your role at the service desk, it does not become less important. Rather, it becomes more responsible. You will have less repetitive work, but you'll have responsibilities of oversight, decision making, and accountability. So, with that, I think professionals uh, face, more importantly, the challenges of, questions like what to learn, what to ignore. There's like uh like a whole heap of information out there online. So filtering it out, filtering the noise from what is important and how to prepare practically for this shift, right, becomes importantly. And this is exactly where we'll be focusing next. So this kind of concludes this short session that we've had today. Hopefully, if you have any questions, we'll be shortly opening up a Q&A session. But I'd like to conclude with more like an answer than questions. So Knowlathon will be introducing the Gen AI Service Desk Mastery course, which will help you prepare for your next or your evolving role in ITSM. So while you type away your questions in the Q&A, and Shraddha will help me address your questions, feel free to just give that a read, what you see, the modules as you see for this course. And you can express your interest with Shraddha or simply leave your email in the chat box or the Q&A session, and we'll get back to you, right? So, Shraddha, any
Yes.
questions
Thank you so
for
much,
us?
ma'am. It was a clear and practical, reassuring session, maybe for our viewers too. Uh, Before we wrap up, we are gonna take the Q&A now. Everyone, you can ask your questions, any doubts you have related to the topic, you can ask in the Q&A box. I'll read it out to the ma'am. It can be about AI adoption, ITSM roles, or governance, or where shall you start, or something like that. Till you put up the questions, I'm sharing the contact details and our social media platforms in the Q&A box. You can access it or keep it with you, our website and everything, so that if you have any doubts further later on, you can contact us and we'll help you resolve. Or yeah, till others are asking questions, can you show me a thumbs up if you have enjoyed the session? Okay, we have today's audience is very shy.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So feel free to shoot any questions you have. If maybe chatting is uncomfortable, Shraddha, can they maybe unmute themselves and ask the question? That would be okay too.
Um, Maybe they can raise the hand, and then maybe I can try to unmute them. This is your chance to get all your queries answer. Okay, Mukesh has raised the hand. Let me check. I am allowing a mic.
Yes, please. Hi, Mukesh.
Hello, Mukesh, you can unmute
It's
yourself.
audible.
Yes,
Hello.
yes.
Yeah. As per session, AI should be assist, AI should be judgment. Could you say next course of action after the judgment of the AI assistant like that? For an example, first level, second level, and final level assistants required here.
Could you rephrase your question, please?
As per session, AI should be assist, AI should be provide as in judgment. May I know the how to assist AI like that first
No.
level of escalation
As
matrix
I
like
got
that.
that. No, no. The what I was trying to explain, if I've not been able to successfully explain in the webinar, is that the judgment and the decisions are not yet being made by AI. This is where your role as a human being and your contribution as a service desk is, right? So AI will be handling repetitive tasks, at least in the immediate future, right? There is a trust deficit at the leadership level when it comes to AI, especially because of what we have experienced across 2025, right? We have maybe noticed, Mukesh, how elaborately have you used AI at your workplace? Do you use AI tools, maybe stuff like ServiceNow, Jira, or something, or maybe at least ChatGPT?
Yeah, sure.
Which ones? Which tools have you used?
Uh, Manage Engine and ChatGPT.
ChatGPT, is it?
Yeah.
So you may have experienced that, um, uh, ChatGPT does not always give you accurate responses nor consistent responses, right? This is because of a few issues that are with the technology itself, such as hallucinations. It also has to do with our inability to design the right prompts, right? So you as a user need to understand what is the right prompt to provide, right? And AI itself will be learning from a database, correct? And that data in the database, the knowledge base, has to be clean, garbage free, right? For you to get accurate, results. So what we have been experiencing, after all the hype about AI and what it can do, that it's a miracle cure for so many diseases, even, right? Is that we understood that there are some major limitations which are yet to be addressed. So while people have to upskill, that's one part of it. AI itself has to evolve. Right. So while this is happening, we will be experiencing what you saw earlier as, the trough of disillusionment. And to get out of that is where, like I said, we need to upskill. AI needs to evolve, become more predictable, less hallucinating. That is when our trust in AI will increase. And gradually and hopefully at some point, it will assist us in certain level of decision making. But Mukesh, as of today, we are very hesitant and reluctant to use AI for judgments and decision making. I
Okay,
hope I
all right,
addressed
sir.
your.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks.
wonderful. Anyone else? Shraddha, you're on mute, but I may have something to add here.
Yeah,
So thank you all for joining us and really happy to have you guys here. And I understand this little time is not sufficient for us to dive really deep into the subject or even have the right questions because the most intelligent aspect of a discussion is asking the right questions, right? And that
yeah,
takes time. That takes
yes,
time, and it's fair enough. So
yeah,
what you can do is on the screen, you see the QR code, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn and definitely ask me any questions that you have, even after the session, right? I hope that helps.
yeah. So you can take your time and ask the right questions afterwards also. So please keep this scanner with you or scan it and connect with Swapna ma'am for further conversation and doubt clearing session maybe. So, thank you all for spending your time with us this evening. And I've shared our social media platforms as well as contact details in the Q&A box. Do check that out. And for more learning resources, webinar details, and certification insights. And have a great evening. And maybe we'll see you in the next session too. Thank you, Swapna ma'am, again for the wonderful session.
Thank you, Shraddha, for making this happen, and thank you all for
Yes,
joining us today. Thank you, and have a very good night.
thank you.